Thank you for carving out the time to be here. We've got a lot going on in the world, and it really is important for you to be here, both for yourself and for the rest of the world. Somewhere along the way, Richard talked about everyone that's in the world praying for world peace and how it appears to everyone that's not in that camp that those people that are dedicating their lives are spending lots of time to praying for world peace are getting absolutely nowhere. And what he went on to say is, imagine if they weren't doing that, what it would be like in this world. And so that's really, I want you to take that message for yourself. As you look around at your life and you see yourself doing this work, this what can be really hard work, and having the courage to look into our shadows, and maybe it doesn't seem like life on the outside is where you want it to be. But I just want you to know that what you are doing is having an impact, and it's just a matter of time. As long as you can maintain the patience and continue to be here, it's just a matter of time. Let's lead a couple of these intentions. Keep going with faith along the path I've recently taken despite challenges. Beautiful. Just continue to stay in that faith. Steve, good to see you, brother. Good to talk to you yesterday. Thanks for being here. Monica, to learn to listen and hear better. Yes, that is big. That's actually my takeaway from my first action triangle in the Star Pearl, is to work on my listening. I used to be a very bad even hearer, right? There's a big difference between hearing and listening. And I would say I used to be an even bad hearer. Like I couldn't even hear the words people were saying. I got that down at least a little bit better to where I could let in and sense what was kind of going on. But I really never got to the place of listening, like really listening. And listening is something that sometimes takes days or weeks or months to do. It's not necessarily something that happens in the moment. And so it's a commitment to digesting, let's say, all the things that we come into contact with over the course of our days and our lives. As you do your own contemplation and dig in, it's not about learning the knowledge, right? It's not about what does this gene key mean and understanding the shadow and the gift. It's can be helpful, sure, but this is about the entirety of you, not just your mental body, but also your emotional body and your physical body and your higher bodies. And the way that we contact all of those bodies is to take this wisdom off the page and to actually make changes in our day-to-day lives. And so my goal today is to help you kind of contact some of that stuff. Remember that if this work ever feels heavy, if it ever feel, well, it can feel heavy, but if it ever feels overwhelmingly heavy, if you ever feel like you're losing your ability to maintain distance from that heaviness. In other words, you feel heavy and you can see it, but you also know that you are this being of light behind that heaviness. If you ever lose that, you got to take a pause and we got to move away for a little bit and we got to just do stuff that makes us grounded and that makes us feel good and that brings some joy back into our life. And just a reminder, I'm just another guy on the path. That's it. Just another fellow traveler here with you guys. I know no more than you do. I promise, I know no more than you do. We're just here walking each other home. So I want to say a little prayer to get started with our journey today. So if you could just get into a position that feels like you are able to honor and venerate God and the universe. And whatever that feels like for you is totally fine for me, whether that's sitting, standing, lying down, however you need to be, but just something where you can really offer yourself in reverence. And this is a prayer that is not mine. And unfortunately, I don't have the author for this. It's certainly, to my understanding, comes from First Nation peoples, but I don't have exactly where it's from. So bear with me. So if we could all just close our eyes, or a soft gaze if you don't feel comfortable with the eyes closed, and just tuning in to the internal landscape for a moment. And just taking a couple big deep breaths together, pulling that air all the way down into the bottom of the belly. And just a big exhale, letting go and landing here. Another one, big inhale. Let it all go. Just continue to notice that breath, almost as if it's breathing you. You're just along for the ride. This is the prayer of the four directions. Great Spirit who comes out of the east, come to us with the power of the east. We are thankful for the light of the rising sun. Let there be light on the path we walk. Let us remember always to be thankful that you give the gift of a new day. Spirit of creation, we turn to the south. We are thankful for sending us warm and soothing winds from the south to comfort us and caress us when we are tired and cold. Unfold us as your gentle breezes unfold the leaves on the trees. And as you give to all the earth your warming wind, give us to warmth and remember to be grateful so that we may grow close to you. Great life-giving Spirit, we face the west, the direction of sundown. Let us remember every day that the moment will come when our sun will go down. Never let us forget that we must fade into you. Give us beautiful color. Give us a great sky for setting, so that when it is time to meet you, we come with glory. Great Spirit of love, come to us with the power of the north. Make us courageous when the cold winds of life fall upon us. Give us strength and endurance for everything that is harsh, everything that hurts, everything that makes us squint. Let us move through life ready to take what comes from the north. Great Spirit of the sky, lift us up to you that our hearts may worship you and come to you in glory. Hold in our memory that you are the Creator, greater than we, eager for our good life. Let everything that is in the world lift our minds and our hearts and our lives to you, so that we may come to you, always in truth and in heart. Giver of all life, we pray to you from the earth. Help us to remember as we touch the earth that we are little and need your pity. Help us to be thankful for the gift of the earth and never to walk hurtfully on the world. Bless us with the eyes to love what comes from Mother Earth and teach us how to use well your gifts. Mother, Father God, Father, Mother Goddess, we honor you. We thank you for this time together. We honor the writers of that prayer for you. We call it into our lives, into our hearts, and we ask for your grace and your involution as we work to evolve and reach towards you. Thank you. We love you. Oh. So today we are going to go on a bit of an interactive journey. And I want to go sphere by sphere through the entire profile and contemplate, journal, discuss. That said, I've learned my lesson and we're not going to try to get to the entire profile today. So first sphere. So we're going to start at the beginning, sphere of life's work. If you have been keeping an eye on the channel lately, which I know some of you have because you registered for this call, but other of you have been on this list for a very long time and just show up when the email goes out. But if you've been watching the channel, you'll know that I am going through sphere by sphere. And I actually, when I'm doing that, I am not looking at anything from the courses, the gene keys themselves, none of that. It's really just like what is bubbling up in me as I think about that sphere and kind of putting it out to the world. So these first couple are going to be, as I touch on them, a little bit of a repeat for those of you that have been watching. And I'm not going to do the full big thing by any means, but I just want to make sure that everyone's on the same page of what each of these spheres represent. So the sphere of your life's work largely dictates or tells you what you are meant to do in the world. Now, there's two different branches of that doing. There is external doing, meaning our life's work gives us a clue as to what might my profession or my active service or my, however you want to think about that. How might I bring myself out to the world so that I can be of service and help other people? That's one. The other half of life's work is it is the deep, deep internal work that you have to do in this incarnation. So it is a lifetime of work to work with that shadow energy and transmute it and open up the karma that you have so that you can fully inhabit your life's work and really and truly be the person that you are meant to be on this planet. It's something that will shift and will change. Like all of this wisdom, I want to make sure that you understand that just because you've taken time with a gene key, let's say that you are doing the activation sequence or have done the activation sequence and you spent 1 month on your life's work sphere and you spent a ton of time, you read it multiple times, you listened to it multiple times, you journaled about it, all of that stuff, right? And you feel like you got a lot of, like you unpacked it and you got a lot of good insights. You will be shocked when you go back to that gene key 6 months or a year later and you look at it again, because the things that you notice, the things that come into you are going to be completely different. At least that is my experience. Completely different. And it's not that the words have changed, it's that the wisdom has burrowed its way into you a little bit more deeply, and things have begun to shift and change, and the way that you see the world has begun to shift and change. And so you can unpack that next layer of understanding. So life's work, meaning, as I said, we've got to revisit this energy over and over and over again and continue to unpack it and unpick the kind of the message or the gold that is contained within it. So I'm going to start in the shadow of your life's work. So if you don't have your Gene Keys profile, or if you don't know your Gene Keys, like off the top of your head, it might be helpful to have your Gene Keys profile by you for this. In fact, it will be helpful. So if anybody doesn't know how to do that, you can put it in the chat. I'm sure somebody will be able to pop on and help you out. But I'm assuming if you're here, you probably at least have done that in some capacity before. So this shadow, this is the energy that is blocking you from fully stepping into your, what I call the oak tree. So if you've listened to some of my videos, I talk about this metaphor that I picked up somewhere along the way of the acorn and the oak tree, where we are born in our hearts. We have this acorn and it contains a complete oak. We just have to do the work to give it sunlight and to give it water, to allow it to root and grow and take hold in our lives. And what it turns into is you become this pillar in the community, this pillar of support, this sturdy, stable, rooted, grounded thing that provides habitat and shade and nourishes everyone around you. And this shadow is the thing that is like a dome like a black dome that's going over that acorn that's stopping the light and the water from getting there so that you can begin to manifest that oak tree. So I want you to get out a piece of paper. You can do this on your computer, or if you don't have access to any of those things, you can always contemplate it. Although I would prefer you, if you can write it down, that would be ideal. Any way that makes sense for you for that. So what I want you to do is take the next 2 minutes. I'm going to set a timer, and I want you to take the next 2 minutes and write down examples of where you have seen this shadow in your life. And we might end up needing a little bit more time for that. But so for example, for me, this shadow is the shadow of failure. So as I'm contemplating failure, okay, when have I felt like a failure in my life? That's what I'm thinking to myself, and a few things come to mind. I felt like a failure when I needed to put my last business into bankruptcy. I felt like a failure when I couldn't make my marriage work. I felt like a failure when my daughter told me that she felt like I wasn't there for her when she was younger, right? So just going into your internal space and writing down, look at your word, not mine. We're not doing failure. Look at your word, whatever shadow you have there, and write down where have you seen that in your life. Okay, so just by a show of hands here, who feels like they are currently dealing with the shadow of their life's work right now? Like, show of hand, is anyone currently in that shadow at this moment? Okay, so if you're on, just look around. Keep those hands up. Just look. I promise I'm not going to make you do anything weird or uncomfortable. Just keep those hands up. Look around. Like these, you're not alone. That's all I want you to feel here. You're not alone. Go ahead and set those hands down. There's a lot of us, myself included. I am definitely feeling this shadow right now, big time. Now, would anybody be willing to share a quick 1 or 2 minute story of how, like one of these things that they identified, where they have seen the shadow, and you can just tell us the shadow and then give us where you saw it in your life. Is anybody feeling brave enough to do that today? Mac, please. Thank you.
Maybe stupid rather than brave, but hey. My shadow is self-obsession. And my understanding of self-obsession and Gene Key 10 is like the sixth line. We need to go through periods of self-obsession to be able to go into the, even forget the naturalness and eventually being. And it's about love and ease eventually. And I become more easeful and loving. But however, I have been quite obsessive about needing time and space for me doing me, being too introverted and introspective that I haven't given enough time to my relationships.
Yeah.
And I've also denied myself the love and the ease, being very critical self, and also denying myself by not honoring my intuition and trusting it.
Beautiful. Thank you, Mac. That was perfect. Thanks for cracking the seal for me. Everyone else is going to feel better now, I promise. Okay, one more. Anybody else willing to share? Cheryl? Yeah, please, Cheryl. That would be fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah. Mine is compromise.
Yes, 14.
Yeah, that's right. 0.6.
Okay.
So, where I live is an independent living building with a practice of everyone meeting for dinner every night.
Got it.
For me, I relate to both of you, Mac and Jason.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm basically, I did it for like quite a long time, like 4 years. In spite of, I found it stressful a little much and so on. every night.
Got it.
And then,
Beautiful.
yeah, now though I decided it was too much of a stressor and I would give myself the freedom of not going.
Wonderful.
And even though they say socializing is so good for us all, they don't take into account there's degrees of it. So,
Sure.
and so I'm doing it in other ways. So that was a big decision.
That is.
Sure, if it was good for me to do what was so stressful and difficult, is this what would be good for my growth?
Yeah.
That was the big hesitation.
Got it. Well, I feel like you won't know until you try a different way. So good for you for honoring it and trying not, that, hey, I'm gonna set a boundary here and see what happens. I love
I
that.
feel great relief actually.
Exactly.
When I wake up in the morning, I think, oh, I don't have to do that. It's like getting my life back in a way.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what happens when we start to pay attention to those shadows. Thank you, Cheryl. I appreciate it, my dear. Okay. Um, so now let's go over to the gift of our life's work. And what I want you to do is take a look at that list of things that you wrote down. And I want to give you another couple minutes, maybe a little bit more, because we got to do a little creative thinking in this one. And what I want you to do is creatively discover alternative responses from the stories that you wrote down. One where you are not a victim. So, in other words, if I go back to my story of I'm a failure because I couldn't keep the gym out of bankruptcy, what are the lessons? What are the things that actually did for me? Because it wasn't a failure. There was so much that I was able to bring out and take forward from that. I would not be here with all of you. It gave me the skills that I needed to be in front of a camera, to grow the YouTube channel, to like all of that came directly from the last business. So take a look at those things that you wrote down and now write down through your creativity what might the lesson be, or if it's something that you did, which is honestly what I would prefer, what is another, like, what is, if you could rewind time, what's another thing that you might have done, or how might you have responded in a different way? So either whatever way that feels better. So how might you have changed the response in the moment, or what's the gold from the lesson? Whichever of those feels better. Take a couple minutes for that. Who is willing to share, again, just quickly, a minute or two, to share the change? So in this case, you'll need to say what it was, what the difference in response. Yeah, please, Matt, go ahead.
If anybody else wants to do it, because I've already spoke, I'm happy. So spending too much time on my own and not having and introspection and not enough with my relationships. It's having more understanding that I was doing it out of fear and I didn't trust my intuition. And therefore, yeah. And it's about more balance. However, I'm a 6-2 and a reflector, so I absolutely understand I need time for myself to do things. So it's kind of like, and the other aspect is honoring my intuition and giving myself love and forgiveness that I deserve and trusting my intuition more.
That's it. Both are always true. That's where we get stuck, is that we think it's got to be one way or the other way, and it's both are always true, as the 17th gift of farsightedness tells us. Anybody else willing to share? Jan, please.
Yeah, mine is the 51.5 in my life's work. So that's agitation, initiative, awakening. And the agitation has really been all about the outer authorities who try to tell me what to do. So we're all being told a lot of that stuff. And of course, with a 5.1 human design profile, I'm not into that anymore. So I'm not being told what to do. And I feel like even though I've got that 5.1 profile, I'm also not here to tell others what to do. So where the outer authorities use a lot of indoctrination, which in my view leads to a lot of ignorance, I went, I'm like, we need to connect more with our inner authority. So that's the initiative part of the 51.
Mm.
By using introspection and inspiration, the right questions so people find their own answers. So it's really about moving from the outer authority into the inner authority, which I think has a lot to do with my drive for sovereignty, but also with my vocation, the 55, this whole victim to freedom thing.
Yeah, beautifully said. Thank you, Jan. It's quite the journey. It's something that I'm really working on through the 43rd gene key right now, which I'm currently in love with. That is like my love affair right now is gene key 43. If anybody's got that one, it's a beautiful, beautiful gene key. Anybody else? I'm feeling one more if we got it. Yeah, Francesca, please. You're still muted, my dear.
Okay.
There you go.
So
You look totally different. I don't know why, but you look very different today. You look lighter. Do you feel lighter today?
yeah, maybe yes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I have a Jinky 3. So chaos, innovation, and now I don't remember the CD. Anyway,
It's
no,
okay.
innocence, innocence. Yes,
Innocence,
I
yeah.
remember. Yes,
Yeah.
okay. So chaos for me always meant like moving from one place to another, filling all the gaps with activities or things to do. So keeping myself busy and traveling. I've been traveling all my life long. And I think that once I was away traveling, I always brought out my innovation. I mean, my gift, because I was really innovative in the way that I was traveling and, and living my life. But still, I've realized that I was traveling out of to escape.
Mhm.
It wasn't. Lately, I've realized that why am I traveling? And I didn't have an answer. And then I realized that the way, because I didn't feel comfortable
Mm.
staying like
Mhm.
still at home.
Mhm.
So I've decided not to be traveling any longer. I mean, lately, so I
Mhm.
decided not to travel. And I've entered a completely different, I don't know, mood of living the chaos.
Mhm.
Because first of all, I think that when I've been through the activation sequence a few months ago, something really happened. I mean, so some
Mhm.
flourishing of the gift. So I ended up in like an amazing, huge project. I mean, I had a sort of vision, like innovation in a project that is huge, absolutely huge, but I keep finding I like resources, like people on the way, and in the universe, it's putting like the people I need on my path. So I keep going. I mean,
Yeah.
on this, and inside this container where I'm in, there is lots of chaos. I mean, nothing makes sense from a logical standpoint.
Yeah.
But I look at it like from the outside, sort of. It's like a movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fun because everything looks like reels. You know, these reels, I live my life like watching reels, life is like lots of like endless reels. So it's fun. I'm
Yes.
having fun, and I'm not like even today I had like sort of bad news regarding this project from people I was expecting an answer, but I did the opposite. And I mean, I said, okay, fine, let's see what's gonna happen next.
Yeah.
It didn't bother me at all. I thought that's your issue, that's your problem, it's not mine.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Thank you, Francesca. Let me tell you, you might not feel any different. I am telling you, you are showing up very different today. You look different, you sound different, the energy's different, all of it. So whatever you're doing, keep
okay.
doing it. Keep doing it. So a couple of things that Francesca said. Number one, that I just want to draw attention to is all the energy that she had that was going into avoiding the pain. right? In her case, moving from thing to thing, traveling from thing to thing. She realized by taking a look, like really and truly at that energy and understanding where it was coming from, that it was running, which is a very classic kind of third line energy. And I'm not sure if that's what she has there, but nonetheless, a very kind of classic third line thing to do. However, when we are able to see that shadow, we liberate all of that energy to be applied to the gift. So now all the running that she was doing, that was taking up a ton of time, energy, and effort, I promise. And now all of that can be applied toward the innovation of this new thing that she has. And so as you look at the gene key that you have in your sphere of life's work, that's what I want you to think about when you contemplate the shadow and the gift. Is like, one, I'm able to see, and that's all it takes. You don't have to do anything with it. You just have to see it. You have to like really truly see it for what's happening. And when you do that, the gift just flowers and opens because you take all of that energy and you're able to reapply it somewhere else in your life. So consider where might you be burning unnecessary energy? Where might you be putting too much focus? What are you avoiding? Because that takes a lot of energy too. And then the other thing that really stood out as she was talking, she being Francesca, is the mythic nature of life. I scream this from the rooftops over and over and over again. And honestly, it does really, really poorly when I do. Like from a metric standpoint, it's like definitely, I don't know if it's like, it doesn't land for whatever reason, but this is like one of the things that totally changed my life, is an ability to see myself as a movie character in its story. Like, it is so freeing when you start to see your life as a movie, because you just have a little bit more space. Also, we know the kind of archetypal arc of a story, and we know how it's going to end. I know that like everything's going great, or like at least at the very least it's consistent, or I'm in this life, let's say, and then there's this inciting event, right? Something happens in the movie and in your life. And then we end up in this crazy journey of trying to figure it out and meeting people along the way and making messes and tearing apart relationships and all of the things that happen in our big, messy lives and happen in these movies. And the movies are there, right? We watch a movie and we just kind of like, we see it and we know that that person is struggling and we want them to get to the other side. And they do, right? They always do. It's always happily ever after. That's how movies end. It's because we know the ending of the story as humanity. If it doesn't end that way, which occasionally they don't, you feel off. Something feels wrong. And it feels wrong because you know that it does end in happily ever after in this world, even though it might not feel that way right now. But as we kind of see that journey and it opens up to us, I often think about like, man, I watched this hero or heroine. Harry Potter is the first person that came to mind. I have no idea why. That's a weird one. But I watched Harry Potter fighting Voldemort. And I'm like, oh, that's hard. But he's going to make it. Then I'm in my life and somebody moves a meeting and it's like the end of the world. It's like, oh my God, I'm never going to get there. I'm not going to get to the other side. And that's obviously like not a totally true, a bit of an exaggeration, but it's something little that we are like, all of a sudden the world's ending. It's going to fall apart and I'm not going to be okay. And it's not going to end happily ever after. And so when we zoom out and we're able to see the mythology, it's also why I really encourage you to study the myth of your heritage. I've been screaming that one for a long time too. Or if not your heritage, something that resonates on a deep, deep level with you. So like for me, I've got Viking blood in a big way. And so I really resonate with the Viking and Nordic mythology big time. But just whatever is true for you, dig into those myths and stories because they contain what you need to be able to stay on the path when it gets really hard. Okay. Casey, did you have something you want to share, brother?
Yeah, I was just going to add, I'm sure everybody probably knows, but and I'm sorry, I forgot the last person who shared. Thank you for that beautiful share on the third gene key, but we're transiting through the third gene key right now. And yesterday I listened to that contemplation, and it's a beautiful contemplation, and it really speaks to what Jay spoke about. And and I also would just, I guess, share my to what Jay's saying, like looking at yourself as like, and your life as like a mythic kind of journey or character. I've kind of like, that's been my whole life. I've kind of been a very right brain journeyer myself. But yeah, that's what I wanted to share. Just we're transiting through the third right now. It's a beautiful contemplation. If you go on Spotify, they have some beautiful living wisdom contemplations to that. And it really speaks to like, one of the dilemmas of this human experience, the chaos, and especially, look at the world that we live in today. And it's what you said about being able to step back from the chaos and just trust in that, knowing that we know what the outcome is going to be. And he says it beautifully, like, maybe I just better sit back and like, just watch, you just kind of watch yourself. And it does, that will kind of lead to, if it hasn't already in your life, that will lead to like a breakthrough of sorts.
Totally. Like
For sure. So that's it. Thank you for that last share and all of your shares, by the way. Thank you.
Thank you, Casey. I appreciate you, brother. You're the man. Yeah, I can't remember if it's Gene Key 3. I have not listened to 3 yet. Normally I do like the first or second day, but I've just had a bunch going on. I haven't listened or read it quite yet. There's one Gene Key, which might be 3, where he talks about sitting in a theater and there being a
That's
play.
the one.
It is the one?
Yeah, it's the
Okay.
third, yeah.
Okay. So
Yep, exactly.
sitting in a theater and there's a play going on, and he's like, what are you supposed to do as somebody that like sees the play? Do you just like stand up in the middle of the movie and say, "Don't worry, it's just a play"? Like everyone is just gonna look at you and be like, "The fuck are you talking about?" Like stop, get it together, sir. And so in that way, yeah, like sometimes and I struggle with this often. Like, why am I talking? Maybe I just need to shut my mouth and then we'll get there eventually. I don't know. It's a battle I have with myself sometimes, definitely. Okay.
Not just you.
Yeah, I'm sure. If you've got a 6th line anywhere, I can pretty much guarantee you've had that thought at some point in your life.
Must be the Viking warrior in you. So next time, I mean, for the next call, if you can find some of those helmets with those horns, just for the look, just so we can see what the look of that is on you.
I actually have. I have, as for Halloween one year, my entire family dressed up as Vikings. And it was like we went hard in the Viking paint. Like I was a Viking that year. And it is hilarious. And at the time, my hair was way longer. So right now my hair is like to the bottom of my neck. It was like to between my shoulder blades. And I had the top was really long, but then the sides were like totally shaved and like faded up and in. So I put it in like two inside out braids on the way back, and the sides were totally shaved, and I looked like a total Viking warrior badass. It was sweet. Okay. So let's go into the city of our life's work, which for this, I'm actually going to do just a quick couple minute meditation. So wherever you feel comfortable, this is just me. So I don't feel like we need the reverence or veneration that we had for the four directions prayer. Just wherever you can be comfortable, is fine with me. So just getting comfortable in your seat, feeling into your body. And if you can close the eyes, great. If not, just a soft focus. And again, coming back into that inner landscape here, taking a couple big, deep breaths. I want you to just begin to bring your awareness down into the one point, this swirling, spiraling, infinitesimally finite or small point behind the navel. And you can even put your hands there and just make a small circle down around the belly button as we begin to feel that energy swirling there at our belly. And from this swirl, from this place, everything in our life emanates. Our journey is taken step by step as we work towards manifesting our life's work. And I want you to just put yourself now in your mind's eye on a path. Whatever that path may look like for you. Maybe you're in the woods, through a desert, on a mountain, on a beach. And I just want you to start walking your path. And I want you to hear the sounds that are around you. Maybe it's birds in the woods or an ocean breeze, rustling of the leaves, the earth beneath your feet. I want you to start to feel the sensation on your skin of the coolness or the warmth, the sun or the air. And as we're walking this path, we come to a place where there's some sort of obstacle ahead of you, something that we need to cross over, maybe a river or a gorge. And it doesn't look like there's any way across. And this is the shadow of your life's work. This is that moment where chaos reigns. And everything in us wants to turn back. And somehow, from that swirl behind your belly button, emerges a stone. A stone that can hover in space out in front of you, over that river or over that gap. And you look at it and wonder why it's there. You don't understand. It's just one step of this giant chasm. But something in you knows that you just take that first step. And so you take the step. And in the moment that you put your foot on that first stone, from that swirling energy behind your navel, the next stone comes. And we take another step. And this time, no stone comes. And we wonder, why? Why didn't it come? Why did I waste my time? Why am I doing this? Is it even worth it on the other side? And we go deep within and we ask for help. We ask for support. And in the moment we do that, the next four stones arrive. And we take step 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we're not quite across. But at this point, we realize something. We realize that all that's required to cross this chasm is patience and devotion, an ability to humble yourself before God, before the universe, to ask for help, and the courage to take the next step. I want you to breathe in that power, that knowing. That creating this path is simply a matter of trust and courage. And that trust and courage are born of love. Feel that energy to the core of your being. Know how powerful you truly are. And just begin to notice your physical body again. Maybe touching the legs or wiggling the fingers or the toes. Maybe moving the neck or head. And when you're ready, we can gently open those eyes. Welcome back, everybody. So on to our evolution now. So your evolution, it is, the way that I like to think of it, is it is your sharpening stone. It is the thing that allows you to sharpen your sword, which is your brand, which is your being, your voice out in the world. It allows you to sharpen yourself, to continue to develop the tools that you need, to continue to learn the lessons that you need in order to grow and evolve and develop. That's what your evolution is ultimately about. I randomly saw a video today at some point. It was Morgan Freeman playing God in a movie, which he's done in many movies. So I'm not sure which one it was. I know it was not the Jim Carrey movie that he plays God in. I forget which one that is, but it wasn't that one. But he's talking to a woman and he says, if you pray for courage, do you think that God gives you courage, or does he give you a situation that allows you to be courageous? And if you pray for love, does he bring into your life, or she bring into your life, the perfect partner or an opportunity to share unconditional love? And that ultimately is what your sphere of evolution brings up for me. It's going to be a challenge. In fact, I believe the sphere back in the early days of the gene keys used to be called your challenge. Might not be right because that's the path. That's the pathway. I'm drawing a blank on what the word is, but it was something that was like, this is your challenge, right? Like this is your issue, your thing that you're going to have to deal with. And he decided to change it to evolution to try and lighten the burden a little bit. But it's a rock in your shoe. It's a thing that is constantly going to grab your attention and is constantly going to, especially if you're locked into a more shadow frequency, it's going to be an annoyance for you. It's going to be the thing that you're like, oh, why won't this thing just go away and leave me alone? So that's your evolution. But we got to remember that it's just bringing us closer to God. It's bringing us closer to remembering what's happening. So what I want to do with your evolution is something a little bit different. So we're going to go back to our journal here. And if you're doing this on a computer, you can just do two different lists. But if you have a piece of paper, I want you to draw two circles on that page. And you're going to try and write things in the circle. So we want each of them to be relatively big. You could even do this on 2 pages. Or again, if you don't have the space for that, you could potentially make this a list. But the circles would be ideal. So in one of those circles, I want you to write the hard things that have happened in your life over the past, you name it, X amount of time. So maybe that's, if you're having a tough time right now, maybe that's the past day fills up the circle. Or maybe it's the week, or it's the month, or it's the year, or it's the decade, whatever time frame you want to put. But I want you in one of those circles. I'm going to give you a couple minutes right now. I want you to write down all the hard things that have happened to you over the past X amount of time. Go ahead and do that now. Okay. So while you all were writing, look at that. Look at that guy. Oh, can I get it to be in focus? Oh, it's a little blurry, but that's Viking Jay hanging out. Yeah, I had a big beard at the time too, so it was really badass looking. Um, okay, now in that other circle that I had you draw, or in another list, we're going to take 2 minutes and we're going to write down what is the lesson God was teaching me, or whatever word you like to use there. What was the lesson the universe was teaching me? What was the lesson? And in that other circle, I want you to go ahead and write that down. And if any of it's too raw or too fresh, you don't have to do that one. Like if you're still processing, that's okay. Just go ahead and start wrapping up the thought that you're on. As a few folks do that, there was a question that I missed in the chat that said, please explain the myth of your heritage. So just for anyone that's lacking clarity on myth of your heritage. So another example, I already told you. So on my mom's side, this is wild. This is wild that I wound up doing what I'm doing right now. So Cohen, if you're unfamiliar, is very Jewish last name, like one of the most Jewish last names, if not the most Jewish last name that exists, I would say. And in Hebrew, it actually means priest. So likely my lineage on that side was probably from the tribe of what are called the Levites, which was all the priests in the Bible, and like in Jerusalem and Israel and etc. So that's my dad's side. On my mom's side, my original, like to the US, my ancestors were on not the Mayflower, but the boat that came after the Mayflower. So like really early coming to the US. And I know that because my mom is from England, and we've got a line that goes all the way back in the year like 12 something. My great, however many greats there are, was the Archbishop of Canterbury, which is wild. So I've got it on both ends. And anyway, so that line goes all the way back to appearing on England in the 11th century. And we came from the Scandinavian countries, which is why I say I've got Viking blood in me, or Norse blood in me. But on my dad's side, an example of the myth there would be the Torah, right? Would be the stories and the beliefs of Abraham and of Noah and of Abel and Cain, and that whole pantheon is an example of my cultural mythology and heritage. So it might be stories from the Bhagavad Gita as an example, or it might be stories from ancient Mesopotamia with Marduk and Tiamat. It might be, I mean, there's lots and lots of different, maybe it's Greek mythology, you name it. So you're just looking for your line and your lineage and then Googling or going to the library and trying to find stories from that lineage. That's what I'm talking about there. Hopefully that was helpful, Monica, in some way, shape, or form. Any other questions before I keep us going? Okay. So each of those circles that you just drew, Carmen Ray, I don't have a website specifically. No, I just poke around lots of different places, Carmen Ray, wherever, like I said, one of my favorite things to do is go to the library and just type it in the card catalog and then see like what books show up from there.
Oh, sure, do it the hard way.
Okay, so each of those circles that you drew, I want to hammer something home for you right now. The first circle that you drew is a worldview. And the second circle that you drew is a worldview. And you have the choice. Which worldview do you want to live in? Do you want to be in that first circle where you see all the things that happen to you and all the hard shit that's in your life? Or do you want to be the worldview of this is what God is teaching me right now? In every moment, you can make a choice to leave that victim circle behind. And I know the things that happen to us are hard. I know they are. And we still have a choice. And I really encourage you to jump over to that empowered circle. I'm wondering if anyone is willing to share one of theirs, the thing that happened and the lesson that came from it. And as somebody musters up some courage, I just want to give an example. So and this is also just alive in me and something that I feel like I need to say because I haven't told too many people about it. Last Friday, the dog that I got in 2010, I had to take to the vet and put down to have her go to the other side. So that was a very hard few days. And I had a lot of like, even though it was time, right? And it was a choice that I made, I still had and it was just the end of her life. There was still a lot of why and why now. And, you know, my kid got really upset and triggered a lot of stuff in her. And, you know, it was hard to deal with. And I spiraled a little bit for a few hours or even a day there as it weighed and merged with other things that were happening in my life. And then, of course, in the way that the universe always does, I don't know if you guys remember what the transit was around that time, but we just popped right into gene key 42. And gene key 42 is expectation, detachment, and celebration. And it is all about end of life and letting go of life, detaching from life at its deepest, deepest level, overcoming the fear of death and realizing that everything goes. And we've got to let go of all of it. And the sooner that we can do that, the better. If we can do that while we're living, that is true life. That is being reborn, letting go of all those attachments. We are just walking around in the world, setting landmines everywhere, and then stepping on the landmines and then looking at God like, what the fuck? But we're the one that set the landmines because of the attachments that we hold. And again, I get it. It's hard. This is easy to say. It's very, very, very difficult to do. So that's my example, right? The lesson, I didn't get it at first, but then it got beat over my head through the gene keys. And that's how God works oftentimes, right? It's synchronistic things that as long as we're paying attention and we believe in magic, we actually notice. That's the problem. So many people don't believe, and so they don't see. And so that happening, the lesson that I learned was more detachment, which funny enough, I literally didn't think about that until right now. The 42nd gene key is actually the sphere of my evolution. So it ties in right now also. Does anybody or Mac, your hand's up already, please go ahead. Sharing one thing from each of
Okay.
those circles, please.
Right. So two things that are related. That my father said to my mother, if you leave, you can take the girls, but I will come and find you and kill you all. And then later in my life, someone I knew, which actually was a relation through marriage, someone I knew from 6 years old, was murdered. Her 4-year son was murdered, and her brother was murdered viciously by their husband, who threatened to kill them if they left. However, I had decided to have an abortion, even though I was brought up a Catholic and was married. It was the right thing to do for many reasons. But my lesson was to love and forgive myself, to love and forgive this person who did an abhorrent thing, and about unconditional love. That took me years to work through before I knew about the gene keys. And of course, that is just perfect. And that people are just doing the best they can. So I know that's heavy, but yeah.
Yeah, it is heavy. And it's one of the most it's one of the most valuable lessons that exist. And I just want everyone to understand or maybe be aware that you're gonna more than likely need these lessons more than one time. And there's nothing like you're not wrong for that. It's part of being human. We got hard heads. I got a hard head at least. And it can take needing the same lesson a few times. And God is gracious enough to keep us in the same loop until we are able to take that lesson in. So you'll have another opportunity. It'll come.
I'd like to jump in.
Yeah, please come over.
Yeah, I want to go back to that. I'm glad you brought up Gene Key 42.
Mhm.
I don't have it in my profile, but it really, really hit home for me. And the thing that there's been in this underlying a perspective, I don't know what you want to call it, for a few years now, that nothing matters anymore. It's like nothing matters anymore. And I have I'm fully engaged in my life. However, I still feel very much like it's a play. Like, I'm just observing it. So nothing matters anymore. The hardest part of that, though, has been, achievement and purpose. They don't matter anymore. They don't matter anymore. And I in the past, I was a extremely driven and extremely achievement orientated. And that's all done.
Mhm.
And I, you know, certainly created a lot of my own struggle, a lot. Anyway, I guess what I want to say is, you know, when this nothing matters anymore kind of settled in with me, it's been a ongoing, just staying with that and allowing it to teach me.
Mhm.
And so what really came out of it is a whole lot more letting go, a whole lot more detachment from my personal identity. So I enjoy the keys, but none of it matters.
Yeah, totally. I agree. I agree.
What the fuck?
Uh,
Like, I'm not taking any of this with me.
yeah. Yeah.
Like,
The key for
so
me is like balancing that with empathy, essentially, right? Like,
exactly.
you know, like it's how can I manage to do both of those things where I can see it as a play, but also recognize the suffering that's happening in the world
Well,
and
that yeah. And that's a big part of it. And so like I said, my lessons, detachment, and nothing I've experienced has been a mistake,
yeah.
or is a mistake, or will be a mistake. And I'm still somewhat grappling with that one. Anyway, and all that matters is loving myself, and keep coming back to this.
Mhm.
Finally, in my life, nothing that matters more is loving myself. And I sure as hell can't love anybody else if I don't love myself.
Beautifully
And
said, my
so that's
friend.
where, yeah, then the empathy and the compassion is there, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Thank
so
you.
yeah, 42 kind of, that was, yeah, I'm dying all the time. Like, what the fuck?
Thank you for sharing, Carmen Ray. I agree. And I love the fact that I don't know if you know this or not, but I think most of you know that I was an addict for years and years. And so I was around the AA world for a lot. And they have a saying that's keep coming back. And you just dropped that, Carmen Ray. Keep coming back. Just keep coming back to the gene keys.
Yeah,
That's how we get to the other side. Love it.
yeah.
Candy, I saw your hand go up, and then we got Casey's hand up. We'll get to you afterwards, brother.
Thank you. I am adopted, and I thought that I have done, all the work that I needed to do on this. But what came together in this exercise was the myth of my heritage, right? Which is, it's not the ancestral one, but it's this piece that I thought I'm I'm not going to be whole until I know where this information came from, what is my um, history, what is my personal history. And when I look at, uh, my evolution key is 28, purposelessness. And in all of the victimy kind of stuff, it's like, it's all because I'm looking outward. And so the myth of the heritage, right, is like, if I had that piece of information, that would bring me to the key or to the gift, which is totality, right? Um, and so the lesson is I've known this intellectually, like I've been looking outward rather than inward.
Mhm.
And that and inward where we are completely whole. There is
Totally.
no hole there.
Yeah.
So I think just putting those two pieces together, like what is the lesson? And then the myth of heritage, which is not at all the way that you were describing it, but that just landed in me like kaboom, meaty.
Perfect.
Yeah. So thank
However
you.
they come, I'll take it.
Yeah,
I don't
absolutely.
care.
Absolutely. So thank you.
You're welcome, Candy. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, and just for anyone that might not know their heritage or might not know their lineage or any of that, I see Steve. We'll go Casey, Steve, and then back over. Use your intuition and just go where you feel called to. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, I'm actually really, really called to like a lot of Sanskrit stuff, and I have no idea why. That's not in my lineage at all. Like, but it calls to me for whatever reason. So here we are. Casey.
This topic is fascinating, and Monica actually asked a really great question in the chat.
Yeah.
And it goes right along with what we're talking about in these heritage myths, that each of us individually, right? It's commonly said that we're a microcosm of the macrocosm. And as you study your lineage or you look at humanity in general, you do absolutely, and I've heard Richard say this, I couldn't tell you where, but he has said that, like, you see the shadow archetypes playing out in among races, among lineages.
For sure.
And how can you not, like, when you look at especially these Abrahamic, religions, like what's happening in the Middle East, you absolutely can see these deep shadow wound, these wounds playing out.
Mm-hmm.
And as each of us dives into this, but I come from a very unique, peculiar people. Like, I came from the Christian sect of Mormonism. So, and was all in it. It was my whole construct and worldview up until I was 40 years old, and had a devastating, like, faith crisis. And my whole, it was the catalyst for my awakening.
Mm-hmm.
But this Gene Keys wisdom has allowed me to, it's allowed me to take the Christ myth down off the shelf.
Mm-hmm.
And incorporate back into my life. And my Gene Keys are like, when I first came into my Gene Keys, I looked at it and was like, what am I, like, supposed to be Jesus or something like that? And then I put it away because there was this, but yet I knew, my life's work is 36, compassion. So, but it's helped me to basically detach, like, speak that beautiful Gene Key right there. Also understanding and looking, like, even like just how, looking at what Mormonism has come today, which is a very, very immature, like, you see the shadow of immaturity, like in some of these, like, very, very fundamental conservative religious groups. It's just, very immature. But yet you can't blame anybody because it's just everybody asleep in the play that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So that's I should just shut up and sit back and, let everything play out. But anyway, that was a long-winded answer to Monica's question, that yes, in these lineages and racial, the way we've separated, the shadow of separation has proliferated through humanity. I mean, that's the wound and the shadow right there. So, but it is very fascinating when you get into that.
Totally.
Yeah. Anyway.
Cool. Thank you, Casey. Thank you for answering her. And yeah, I'll just add a bit more. So, like, the 36 that Casey just mentioned is very much of the Christ lineage. It's like, I even think the Beatitudes, aren't the Beatitudes at the end of 36? Yeah. So it's like very much a kind of Christ key. And what you'll find when you dig in is Richard did a really great job. Like, this wisdom is a synthesis of all different wisdom. You know, Buddhist is in there, Taoist is in there, Christian, of course, is in there, Sufi. I mean, you name it. It's contained in there. And he really, like in the 22nd gene key, and I've talked about this a bit too, is he talks about the fractal lines that split and how very much there are certain keys that are more Buddha keys, of which 42 actually is like one of the key Buddha path keys. There are certain Christ keys, of which, like I said, 36 is like very much a Christ key. And then there are very much Hermetic or Hermes based keys, or kind of that's the three original paths. Hermes being the path of alchemy, and so an example of that would be the 47th gene key, whose gift is transmutation. So we've got the Hermetic path of alchemy, we've got the Christ path of forgiveness and service and compassion, and we've got the Buddha path of wisdom and detachment. And the cool thing is that all three of those paths get us to the exact same place, which is unity with God. So it's really, really cool to think about. Steve, over to you, my brother.
Thanks, Jay.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, so this is really interesting for me, what's come up with the myth of heritage and my challenge in life right now. I've recently learned of my father's lineage from Eastern Europe. And sometime in the early 1900s, the Russians actually pulled us all off the land and exported us to Eastern Russia somewhere to develop. And and then there was a move from there to the prairies of Canada, which is where I live now here in Canada. We've since moved to the West Coast. But the one challenge that I keep bumping up into in my life is related to the order imposed by sort of structures of government. And here in Canada right now, there's a bit of lawlessness happening as it relates to how the Canadian government is being. And so I'm just not quite sure how to to navigate this. And so it would be more of a question, I think, for you, Jay. Like if you take that as a pre supposition, I guess, how would you use this as a pathway for sort of transcending? My life's work is a sphere of 58, and it's a shadow of dissatisfaction,
Mm-hmm.
The gift of vitality, and the bliss.
Yeah.
So what I find in life, you know, is I definitely can relate to vitality, overcoming the dissatisfaction. Actually, in your last meditation that you sort of just did with us as you were walking us along the beach, I was remembering all the dissatisfaction that I felt because I feel like if I'm not using my vitality, I tend to sink into that a little. And as soon as we came to the chasm, it was like I came alive because I get excited about challenge and overcoming things. But maybe if you wouldn't mind, if you could provide a little bit of insight on how I might best overcome or I guess contemplate this.
So is the question how to feel better about the imposition of control by the higher authority that is the Canadian government right now? I just want to make sure I'm clear.
Well, no, I think more of and as I was contemplating it earlier, I think maybe I had already come up with um what I intuitively feel, and I knew, I think at about age 8, I had an experience where I had this sense that I was going to face this challenge in my life. And it was actually at Bible camp, you know, in a state of surrender. I had kind of a vision come, and so I guess that doesn't leave a lot of clarity on the question. But if there's any area, because it's not necessarily just about the Canadian government, I think.
Right,
I mean, this is just a symptom. And like you said earlier, it's uh, when you have a prayer for courage, it's like God gives you an opportunity to rise above that.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I'm on that path already.
Mm-hmm.
And through my vitality, I'm creating resilience and I have amazing community. I'm in rural areas here and amazing people around me. Like you were saying, where you want to build community, I'm embedded deeply.
Mm.
And so um, I don't know if that gives you anywhere to go with, Jay. I think
I
I've
think so. Yeah. Yeah. I
okay.
think
Thank
if
you.
I'm understanding correctly, I think two things came up to me that might be helpful. Number one is I believe it's the 21st gene key. Have you ever looked at gene key 21, whose shadow is control, and then the gift is authority, and the city is valor?
Yeah, that's my purpose sphere.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is clearly a deep issue for you with that also being in your sphere of purpose. But just, um, that key has quite a few pearls in it, if you will, or gems in it, if you will. I'm flipping to it right now in my book to see if I've got anything underlined in that one at this exact moment. Yes. Okay. Um, so I guess the biggest thing that as I take a look at everything that I have underlined is really for authority to take hold, there needs to be a kind of flip-flop of power, if you will. So the authority becomes the submissive and the submissive becomes the authority. And the way that that happens is through the authority submitting its will to the will of the people or to the whoever they are leading. And the way that it happens vice versa is that the people basically start to realize that they actually are the ones that do hold the true power, but that only happens and can only happen when people begin to band together. And so that's really the thing that comes up and alive in me is like, how can you create your community, which you already have, right? But how can we just kind of prune things in such a way that you're able to instill a sense of authority and ultimately valor in your world, regardless of what all these bigger entities are doing, because that really doesn't matter all that much, to be totally
Mhm.
honest. Like at this point, it's a matter of time before all that shit falls apart. I'm very, very sure that that's the case. And it's gonna get a lot harder before it gets easier. I think people are like kind of cheering that on, not knowing what's coming when that happens.
Mhm.
Um, but nonetheless, that would be the first place that I would kind of encourage you to go. And then the other thing that really came up in me is the 60th gene key. Have you ever had an opportunity to look at that one? It's
I
limitation,
haven't.
realism, justice. So
Sorry, can you repeat that? Or I'll
yeah,
look it up later.
it's okay. Yeah. So the shadow is limitation, the gift is realism, and the city is justice. And so that limitation, I think, is another thing that you're feeling. And at least that I feel with the authority is it's like this red tape that this nonsense that we have to jump through because some higher authority has decided that that is the way that it needs to be done.
Hmm.
And
And
this
it's
gift,
impacting so many areas of my life. It's like it seems like it's coming at all angles at the
to-
moment.
totally, I get
Yeah.
it, dude. I'm the same way. Just like I mean, for example, just to put something like concrete to this, with the last business and the bankruptcy, they change, like I just am over a certain threshold where I can't file one type of bankruptcy. I've got to file this other type of bankruptcy. And it's because it's like $1,000 off. It's going to cost me an extra probably 50 grand in like attorney's fees and like getting all of this stuff done to get to the other side. And I'm like, that's limitation, right? Like, why
Mhm.
is this the number? And then I fight against it. I cry and complain and all of those things. And then we come into the gift of realism, which is like, well, that's how it is. So with that being, that's how it is. Um, what can I do within those constraints? And recognizing or realizing, and this was another really big breakthrough that came for me with 60, is like a structure, of which red tape is, although it might be one that we don't love, but there's a structure of laws and society and all of those things. A structure is required in order for grace or divinity to be able to meet you. In other words, like if I am craving outer success in my life, but I have not built something that allows grace to do its work to bring resources to me, how could it ever come to me? I've got to build the structure that allows the divine an opportunity to play through the structure. And so that's the case with this red tape too, is like, although we don't love the structure, it is a structure. And so when we come to terms with that and we see the reality of the situation, then the magic can start to play through the reality. And that's what happens when we actually let go of it and come to terms with it.
Yeah, that's beautiful, Jay. Thank you for that. I've definitely been building the structures, and when it comes to the things that I've created, I'm actually in a very good position.
Yeah.
I just realized that a campground that I just built, technically I'm not allowed to be doing that. So, and really, it would be nice if there was justice, but our revenue agency here in Canada is gone rogue, and so I'm dealing with some tax things among others. But as a creative in the world where now I have to register every chicken technically, right? So just because I haven't, and maybe I shouldn't be saying that on the call.
I can pull it off. I can
Like,
pull it
but
off.
for our governments to be forcing us to register every single chicken that we own, I just shake my head. And but anyways, I just move forward anyways. I'm just living in this in a beautiful state really for the most part, but this was a deep thing for me to really touch on today, and I'm looking forward to going deeper. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
dude. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. And it's I'll leave you with this, is that justice is not our concern. Justice is God's deal. We just got to get out of the way. What we are, like, weird human view of justice is really like some weird fucked up form of retribution, right? It's like I was wronged and so the other person needs to be wronged. That's not universal justice. Universal justice is like, it's forgiveness, it's love, and the universe will redress the balance. It's not my job to punish somebody else. Like, God will take care of that, I promise.
Yeah. It's just having faith in the process.
Yeah, exactly. You got it.
Thank you.
And here we are at 152, and we only made it through 2 of the 4 spheres that we're going to go through. So I am going to I'm going to pause. We're going to put a pin in this, and then on the next wisdom call, we'll come back. So I don't want to crack into radiance now with 8 minutes to go, because I feel like we'll end up going down a rabbit hole for too long before we get there.
Hey Jay, this is Sonia. I just wanted to add something.
Please.
Okay, the guys from Canada are talking about how bad it is up there, but my life's work is 47. And if we're not under oppression, I don't know who is. So and I love all my Canadian friends. I have friends up there also. So I don't know what's going to happen. We just have to, God gives us just enough light for the step we're on. So that's what I thought about when you were talking about the stones coming across the chasm, is just, he always gives me just enough light.
Yeah.
So I have to believe for the next step and the next step. And I can't look at the news. I can't look at any of that. It's just, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. It's hard. It is hard. And just, when I get into modes like that, I always bring myself back to, I know the ending of the story, right? I know what's on the other side. I know how it ends. And yeah, it's going to be a messy middle to get there, but I know the ending. And all I can do is all I can do, just show up, try and help the people that I can help. And man, All right. Maybe we'll close with this because, well, it makes a lot of sense. So I read the Bible in its entirety last year, just like got a reading plan and just made my way through because I had never done it before. And I just was interested in it. And now, I don't know why, but randomly I decided to go through the Gospels, probably because Easter's around the corner. I just decided a few days ago to go through the Gospels again, just because, man, if you have never read the Bible having spiritual eyes, it is completely different than if you read it through a lens of traditional Christianity. It will blow your mind, the things that Christ says. But one of the things that he says here is, judge not that you be not judged. For with the judgment you pronounce, you will be judged, and with the measure you use it will be measured to you. Why do you see the speck that is in your brother's eye, but do not notice the log that is in your own eye? Take the log out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your brother's eye. So I bring that up right now because I think it is a big issue in the world right now, is everyone is pointing out to society and to culture and to the problems and their lives. My life is not where it could be, right? I have not done everything. I have not sacrificed all that I can. I am not in order, not completely. So who am I to tell the world what needs to happen? I got to take care of myself. And yes, love others, of course, but it's my work that's going to improve the world. So many people are doing the couch quarterback thing, and they're not doing anything in their own lives to actually shift and move and change to be the best version of themselves that they can be. And if we all did that, I guarantee society would clean itself up. But we're too busy pointing out what's wrong with everyone and everything, and all the duality that's different. And so, Sonia, I hear you, and that's my encouragement to you, is to remember that, and to remember even the 17th gene key, whose shadow is opinion. Whenever we believe we're right, we're not seeing the whole picture. There's more that's there. Okay. Thank you all for being here. Go ahead, Sonia. Did you have something you want to add?
I'd rather be happy than right any day.
There you go, my girl. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, thank you all for being here. Keep your eyes over the next week. I'm going to have the next thing that I'm doing out to the world. So keep your eyes peeled. If you have any interest on going deep with me, this is going to be an 18-week cohort. People starting together, ending together, doing work on opening our heart and in bringing what we've got in our heart out into the world, into service is kind of what we're doing. It's myself and Courtney, who is my partner and also a PhD neuroscientist. So we're approaching it from that side of things. And she's going to be kind of, if you're familiar with Brene Brown, that's her role in this kind of whole situation. I'm going to be more of the like esoteric, digging in, spirituality, God-based stuff. And then together we're going to do a lot of embodiment-based work and like pulling this wisdom down into the body. So that's going to start in mid-June. If anyone has any interest in that, like I said, keep your eyes peeled over the next week or so. Other than that, 2 weeks from today, we'll have our next wisdom call. I don't know. My lease is up April 30th, and I still don't know exactly where I'm living. So I'm going to be in a different place, but I don't know where at this point. That's stepping into the unknown. So do that. It's way more fun this way, I promise. And thanks y'all for being here, and I'll see you in a couple weeks. Much love.